Hey, welcome back. Glad you could make it. Today's video is a bit of a request. And as usual, we got a horse in the way. Oh my goodness, it drives me nuts. I actually had a farrier request this video because they wanted to be able to point somebody, well, not somebody, they're clients. They wanted to point the clients towards a given video on how they can prepare the horses for the farrier visit. Now, I happen to be quite fond of farriers because I think they're real hard-working people and they don't get near enough credit. I got a lot of respect for farriers because it's a darn hard job. And I'm throwing a bunch of stuff in here that I know they didn't ask for, but I've done videos about the farrier before and you know, the worth of a farrier and the importance of a farrier. And you know, people just don't really give them enough respect and they're always trying to get a deal and all this stuff. I mean, hey, for as often as you get your horse trimmed, you know, you should not be arguing. I mean, every couple of months, man, you spend more on coffee than you do on your trims. I can assure you, well, unless you got multiple horses. But look at me, mister. You're being annoying. Do you know that? You're really being annoying. Stop bugging me. I'm trying to do a video. Okay, so they wanted me to do a video on how to prepare your horse for the farrier. And I'm going to actually take that a step further and talk about a few other things that you should be doing in preparation for the farrier too. Now, first off, you've got to respect your farrier. They do, you know, you're paying for their knowledge, you're paying for their experience, you're paying for their transportation, paying for their tools. You know, a lot of people go, geez, I'm paying you 40, 45, 50, 55, whatever, for a trim. And you can knock off 3 trims in an hour. That's, say, $50 a trim. That's $150 an hour, man. That's a lot of money. Yeah, well, maybe it's possible to make that much, but how often do they actually do it? You know, they might only trim one horse in a day. That's $50, not $150 an hour. You know, you cannot assume, you know, and on top of that, you know, you're paying for their knowledge, the tools, their transportation, their car, their insurance, on and on. And, you know, it's a high-risk job, too, because a kick from even a small horse could end their career and their livelihood and possibly even their life. And that's not an exaggeration, which is one of the reasons I won't trim other people's horses, because I do trim a little bit. I only trim my own, though. Well, actually, I did trim one other one for a while. Long story. I also trained that one, though. So I want to talk about some of the things you need to do leading up to the visit from your trimmer, farrier, whatever you want to call them. And then I'm actually going to show you a few things, how you can prepare your horse. Now, before going any further, I want to say a couple of videos that I did not long ago about picking up the hoof or picking up the foot, whatever, I can't remember what I think the one was titled Preparing to Pick Up the Foot, and the other one was Picking Up the Hoof Part 2. And I do believe they were Max Nafe Horsemanship, 593 and 594. Well, go look for them. They're the ones about picking up the hoof, and only a month or so ago I did those ones. Maybe it was 2 months, I don't remember. Go watch them. There's, you know, because much of what I'm going to do today and show you is actually going to be a repetition of those videos, because there isn't a whole lot that I can show you that I haven't actually already done. But those ones were geared more towards, you know, horses that have never had their foot picked up or problem horses. This one, I'm going to do more on the, I mean, it's really going to be much the same, but it's going to be more based on getting your horse ready for the farrier and what you need to do to make your horse good with his feet for the farrier. And And one of the reasons I got this guy in here is because he's actually just about due for another trim. And so it's not going to hurt to, he's also my youngest and least experienced. So hopefully he's going to fuss and fidget a tiny bit. Probably won't too much though, because we've done this stuff with him before. But, because it hasn't been done a lot with him, there's a very good chance that we might be able to get to show you something. And like I said, he's got a trim coming up pretty quick, so it wouldn't hurt at all to go through this stuff with him again, and in the process show you exactly what we do and how we address the situation and make him good with his feet. Because, like I said, they got a tough job. Let's make it a little easier. Even if you don't know the person at all or very well, just have a little respect for your fellow man. And on that note, I want to share a little story here. I got to get rid of a horse first. A while back, there was another horse that used to be here, and a nice young lady owned this horse. And he'd always been a little difficult with his feet. He wasn't dangerous, he didn't bite, he didn't kick, but he was just downright difficult. He'd pull and fuss and fidget and all this good stuff. And she knew it, and as a result, she would tip quite well whenever she'd get a trim done. But, she didn't know how to address the problem. I'm sure she would have if she knew how. But she had no idea, and the best that she could do is, she thought, well, if I distract him with some oats while he's being trimmed, maybe he'll behave better. Well, he was 16 years old when I met him, and we were still having problems. So obviously what she was doing wasn't working. And I watched one day when he was being trimmed, and yeah, he was definitely difficult. Now I had been playing with that horse a little bit. So I thought, hey, you know what? I am going to work with his feet a little bit. Now just because, I didn't know the trimmer or the farrier or whatever you want to call them, but just out of respect for my fellow man, I thought I'm going to make somebody else's life a little bit easier, because I know if it was me, I'd appreciate it. And I know farriers have a tough job. It's not an easy job at all. And so I thought, if I could make it a little bit easier and a little bit safer, why not? So, well, I no sooner started working with him on that, and he was due for a trim, and they couldn't get a hold of the original. Well, actually, no, they got a hold of him, but they found out they were on holidays. They weren't available. And the young lady had to go back to work because she worked out of town, and she was gone for extended periods of time. And I said, no problem, I'll take care of it. I thought this is kind of a bit of an opportunity because I can trim and train at the same time, because I knew that approached properly, it doesn't actually take long. So I figured, I'll trim them, and I'll train them to be trimmed at the same time. My opinion, remember, my opinion is that it's easiest and most effective to do this sort of thing if you can trim and train at the same time. Now, not always possible for most people, and when it comes to most trimmers, farriers, whatever you want to call them, do not want to spend the time training your horse. That's not their job. So they just want to get the trim done and get out of there. They don't want to spend time training as well, and I understand that, but it is absolutely the most effective. But you can do that before they get there too. You don't actually have to trim the horse to be able to train it. And I'm going to show you in a minute here how you can do that. As it turned out, that particular horse, before I was done the first trim, I had him trained. And for the remainder of his stay here, I actually continued to trim that horse. One of the few horses I ever trimmed other than my own, simply because, well, other people don't train their horses the way I do. And I got pretty high standards, so I don't want to get into messing with horses that I didn't train. That one I did, though, so I knew exactly what to expect out of him, and within a matter of a couple of hours, he was easily as good or better than any of my own horses. So I didn't mind trimming him at all. He was a good guy. Well, we did a few other things with him, too, but that's another story for another day. So I want to talk about a few of the other things that you should be doing before the farrier gets there, aside from training your horse, but it's all part of preparation for the farrier. And there's things that, one of the things that really bugs me is people that don't even want to be there. They'll just phone the farrier and say, oh, my horse is out in the pasture, go catch it and trim it for me. And that has actually led to injuries. Farriers have been hurt that way. And if it happens to be muddy and pouring rain, you know what? That's not fair to make them go out in the pasture and get your horse. There's also the risk they might end up getting the wrong horse. Be present. Very important. Because, have your horse caught. Have the mud cleaned off its feet if it's muddy out. And have it all ready to go for when the farrier gets there. They shouldn't have to wait. If they say they're going to be there at 3 o'clock, by 3 o'clock you better have that horse ready for them to trim. Okay. One of the things about being there, and this is one of the things that, I think as a responsible horse owner, you should be present for two main reasons. One is to ensure that your horse is treated the way you would like to see your horse treated. I think that's very important. And you can't, well, if you're not there, you have no idea how they're treating your horse. And the other thing is to ensure that the trim is actually being done properly, or to your standard. But then again, that also means you have to educate yourself a little bit on trimming to know the difference between a good and bad trim. But those are the two main reasons. One, to make sure your horse is treated right. The other is to make sure it's trimmed properly. Both require your presence. Get out of here. So, that's, like I said, that's one of the things that bug me. It's not their job to catch your horse. It's not their job to clean all the mud off. It's not their job to train your horse. No, that's your responsibility. Absolutely. So, another thing, don't talk to them. Leave them alone. Do not distract them while they're working, because they're dealing with an animal that weighs them 5, 6 to 1. They got to be paying attention to what they're doing, or they can end up dead. This is not a joke. Do not distract them. There will be time before and after the trim that you can socialize if you want, or if they want, because maybe they don't even want to talk to you, and depending on the person. But don't distract them. Do not be a distraction. And if you help, I should show you this one too, because there's a couple of things that, I've mentioned before. I don't like tying, and there's a couple of reasons I don't like tying. And I think I've mentioned it, but if you watch those other videos, I'm pretty sure I talked about them in them. And it's, you can't fix what ain't broken if they can't move. You've got them physically restrained, but the mind still wants to run around, do things, be somewhere else. And so you're not really, tying them up doesn't solve the problem. It might keep the horse from going anywhere, but what little they can move, they might still move. And you end up with a horse that fusses and fidgets, and it can kick, it can bite, it can do all kinds of things. And, I don't like box stalls. I don't like tying. What some people do, though, is they'll actually hold the horse while it's being trimmed. Now, if you choose to do this, I'm not saying whether you should or not. I'm just saying, if you do this, there is a right and wrong way to do it. I'm just going to move a little further away from the camera so you can see a little bit better. Excuse me, sir. Move over this way. Thank you. Okay. If your farrier is trimming one of the legs on this side of the horse, you should be on the same side of the horse that they're trimming. If they move over to the other side, you move over to the other side. Okay, be on the same side of the horse. That way the horse always has an out if for some particular reason the horse feels particularly stressed by the whole situation and it thinks it absolutely has to move. It's not going to land on top of somebody. If you've got one of you on each side of the horse, that is a dangerous situation. One of you is going to get hurt if that horse moves. So you absolutely do not want to be on opposite sides of the horse. Most people won't even mention this stuff, But that's something, an observation I have made that I think is really important. If you want to help out and hold your horse while the farrier's trimming, that's okay. But make sure you're on the same side as them. It's safer for both of you that way, okay? Please do that. You know, be respectful, dear farrier. Do not expect any freebies. Oh, while you're here, can you take a look at Fifi's feet? No, none of that stuff. You know, expect fully to pay for whatever you're getting, because, you know, their job, you know, if I mean, stop complaining about the price. Be willing to pay them. That's their job. That's what they do. And if you didn't need them, you'd be doing it yourself, okay? So don't argue about price. Don't try and get freebies. Goodness sakes, whatever you do, do not, and I've seen it done many times, people would actually change farriers to save $5 because the one does it $5 cheaper than the other. And when you consider that most horses only get trimmed once every 8 weeks, that's $5 for 2 months. That's $2.50 a month you're saving. Is that all your horse is worth to you? Smarten up. Anyhow, so those are a couple of the things, you know, be respectful. You know, don't hold them up, don't delay them. Make sure that horse is ready when they get there. You go catch the horse. You clean the mud off its feet. And above and beyond, you train your horse to behave while it's being trimmed, which is what we're going to get into right now. Okay, what I want to show you is actually relatively simple. Very, very simple, actually. And it's really, I've already showed it to you in that other video, but I'm just going to take it a little step further here and leave that alone. I think somebody else has been chewing on the corner of that thing, by the looks of it, recently. Anyhow, normally I don't bother putting a halter on them for this, but for the purpose of training, I think it might be to your advantage to actually put a halter on your horse, just to make it a little easier to position the horse for whatever, you know, to get it where you want it. You're not going to really use it a whole lot, but probably just handier to have it on because you got something to grab onto if you need to, so that you can put the horse where you want it to be. But you're not going to tie it, so you don't even need the lead on, just the halter, so that you can do exactly like this. I want him right there. Oh yeah, he definitely needs trimming. Okay. Anyhow, I want him right there. Now, he's pretty good, but not perfect, and like I said, yeah, he definitely needs trim again. So we want to, it's not going to hurt at all to work on this stuff. Now, this is exactly where I want him. Now, the important thing that you have to do is have at your ready either your flag or your lunge whip, whatever your tool of choice is, it doesn't matter. But you need something that you can very quickly drive the horse off with when need to. Because if he fusses or fidgets even a tiny little bit, that says, hey, I want to move. And you know what? You want to move? Okay, you're going to move. And you're going to move a lot. And I'm going to control your movement. I'm going to make you go this way, that way, speed up, slow down, all this stuff. And I'm going to show you, hopefully. And I've got both the lunge whip and flag here because, well, I can't really decide which one I want to use because once we get them out of the distance, the lunge whip works better, but for initially getting them going, the flag is much better at close quarters. But these are things that you need to have handy. Now, he had his nose where it shouldn't have been. I gave him a tiny little poke with my finger. That's why he jumped like that, in case you didn't notice what I was doing. In spite of the fact I was holding this flag, he actually got one tiny little finger on the nose that says, no, don't do that. He knows better. And you see how well he's standing there now? This is how fast horses learn things. You'll get another one in a minute here. See? One finger. That's all it takes. But we're not actually going to trim them, just to show you. But you're all going to have a hoof pick, aren't you? Every one of you is going to have a hoof pick. So we're going to simulate the things that we're going to, the farrier's going to want to do. And it's going to be pick up a foot without a struggle and hold it up for an extended period of time without problems. And, they may want to have it on the hoof stand or in the sling. There's various different things that they want to do. But either way, the farrier wants the foot. And it's theirs to do what they want with. And if the horse starts fussing and fidgeting and trying to pull it back, well, we're going to do something about it. Already, I'm seeing, just from the fact that he's not 100% on the ball here, we're going to have a problem, I think. Actually, I kind of hope we are, because I want to be able to show you exactly what we're going to do to address the situation, what you are going to do. This is what you're going to do with your horse. Okay, first off, you got the halter on him, so you can position him. You see, I don't even have a lead on it or anything, but I use it just to get him where I want him. Okay, I want him right there, perfect, exactly there. Now I'm going to pick up a foot, which hopefully, yeah, no problem. Oh boy, does he need trimming. And we're gonna keep this foot for a while, and we're gonna clean it. Not that it really matters that it gets cleaned right now, but all I want to do is I want to keep his foot similarly to what a farrier would do, because they're gonna have that foot for a while to trim it. Oh boy, do you need trimming there, buddy? It's been a bad year for hooves. It's very dry. They're chipping and cracking, and they're hard, and it's terrible. He's being way too good. How am I supposed to show you what to do? And I can't show you unless he does it, because I don't want to chase him around. And do what I do, if he doesn't misbehave. That's how easy this is. I've already taught him. And I haven't done this for a minute. Oh, he's fussing a bit. Good. That's good. Because in a second, if he fusses, let's see what happens here. Oh, you want to go? Okay, keep going. There we go. There we go. Perfect. He fussed. It wasn't much, actually, but. And a little trot in there. Let's pick it up to a canter. Come on, buddy, keep going. Come on. And this is exactly what you're going to do with your horse. And then we're just going to stop there. We're going to change directions. We're going to get going. Come on. And like I said in the other video, oh, keep going. No, that's not fast enough. There we go. Depending on your horse, particularly if you got one of those hot-blooded things like Arabs with lots of endurance, you're going to absolutely have to canter in order for them to get the message, because they could trot all day long. And there we go. I'm just going to take my lunge whip, set it back down. That's the first time. Now, I'm going to position him. Come here, dummy. I'm going to position exactly where I want him. Exactly where I want him. And actually, I'm going to turn him around. I'm going to do the other side now. So I can't really clean that one much more. There we go. Good man. Now we're going to do the other one. And we're going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to hold on to his foot, clean it. Not that it really needs to be done all that bad right now, but it can't hurt. And, we're just trying to simulate, the farriers, they're going to have that hoof for a while. Some of them are pretty darn quick, but you never know how long, and we don't want to put a time limit on them. So we're going to, basically take our sweet time here, which, oh my, you really need to trim there, sir. Any farriers want to come trim my horses? Hard work. I'm getting tired of doing it. And this is why people are willing to pay. And, I don't, I mean, like I said, I do trim my own, but I have no qualms with anyone that wants to pay for a farrier. It's hard work. It's worth the money. Absolutely. But, this is what you want. You want a horse that is going to stand still. And I'm actually a little disappointed he's not giving me a hard time here. He's a quick study when it comes to this stuff, apparently. So I don't know. I don't really have any other horses around that are going to be suitable for the demo. And, well, it's about as clean as that one can get. So I can't really do any more. But I think I made the point, and it's really simple. That's all you have to do. And you're probably only going to have to repeat that process with a horse that's a problem and has never done it before. You might have to repeat the process, maybe 3, 4, 5 times. I don't know. Can't say for sure. It all depends on your horse. What, are you going to lunge me now? Give me that thing. Give me my lunge whip. Jerk. You might have to repeat the process a few times. Actually, you will have to repeat the process a few times. And even over a few days, I would say do it a couple times today, a couple more times tomorrow, a couple more times the day after that. So that every time that you show up or anybody shows up and picks up a foot, that horse knows instantly that once they've got my foot, I must stand still. That's my responsibility. And, he doesn't take offense to it. I'm just simply giving him 2 options. He can run around like horses normally do, he's running around anyhow. Or he can just stand still and do nothing, which is the far better option, actually. And it doesn't take him long to figure that out. And that's what you're going to have to do with your horse. So I'm afraid that's about it, all I can do, really. I mean, I can't really show you much more. I've already shown you about as much as I can, but that is exactly what you need to do. That is absolutely what needs to be done is very simply, if a horse doesn't want to stand still, well, if they want to move, let them move. They get to move lots. And pretty soon they decide, you know what, I think standing still is a whole lot less work. You don't get mad at the horse when you're doing that stuff, by the way. That's very, very important. Never ever get mad at the horse when you're doing that stuff. When I send them off, I'm just saying, okay, you want to move, you get to move. I'll help you out here. I'm going to give you some directions and tell you how fast I want you to go. But I'm not stopping them. And you never, ever try and stop the horse. And that's a mistake a lot of people make is, when they're trying to hold up a foot or, whatever, is, oh, don't do this, don't do that. No, you never do that. The horse wants to move, let him move. Because you cannot fix what is not broken. So do not try and restrain the horse. Like I said, I don't tie. I don't restrain. Because that doesn't solve a thing. That might physically keep the horse in place, but mentally, they want to be somewhere else. They want to move. They want their leg back and I should explain one of the reasons this is a very common problem, is that when it comes to the horse, is their main means of survival, which is their instincts, is to run away from danger. And if you have restricted one of their legs while you're trimming, you have basically taken away their ability to protect their life. It's that simple. You are going against their instincts. Their survival instincts say, I need to be able to run. You are saying, I want to hold on to your foot. And you cannot run. In fact, I don't want you to move at all. So it's complete opposite what you want and what the horse naturally wants to do. two completely different things. That's why it is often a problem, but it is up to you, the horse owner, out of respect to your fellow human being, to make sure that your horse is trained and prepared and ready for that farrier when they get there, so that they don't have to risk their career and possibly their life because you've got an unruly horse that's not properly trained. Okay, so that's about it. I can't really show you a whole lot more. That's really, it's that simple. I mean, I only showed you once because you only fidgeted once. The second time, nothing. I was kind of hoping he'd do it again, but he's done it enough times now. That's how fast he catches on. And so unfortunately, I don't have any other horses that I haven't already trained even better than that. So I can't really show you, but you saw it once, and that's enough. It applies the same each and every time. You do exactly the same thing. So even though I've only showed you once, that in theory should be enough, because if the horse wants to move, let it move. And you saw exactly how fast it worked. He fidgeted just a tiny bit that first time. The second time, he didn't fidget at all. And that's what you want your horse to do. You want your horse to not move a muscle when you're working with it, or your farrier is. And they need to understand. And like I said, that's why one of the reasons I like to do this without tying a horse, because I believe that tying ups the stress levels. A box stall, I think, is a recipe for disaster on a good day, because you can't get out of the way of the horse. If it moves, they can slam you into a wall, a gate, whatever. There's a risk of getting injured in a stall. I like using a bigger area, such as this. In fact, when I do my trims, my little stool sitting there in the middle, that's pretty much exactly what I do. I do it in the middle of the arena here, without so much as a halter on, because they've got the move. They're more comfortable to begin with, because they're not confined, they're not restrained, so they're much more relaxed and comfortable to begin with. If they really feel stressed enough that they think they have to move, they can, and if they do, I can do something about it in here. If I got them tied up somewhere, I can't do a darn thing. I can't address the situation. I can't do anything about the behavior. I cannot rectify it at all. So now you don't need to do this. I should say, you don't have to have an indoor arena like this. You can do this outside anywhere where you don't have a whole lot of other horses around to get in your way, or you have a slightly confined space, a smaller outdoor paddock that's approximately the size of the arena, or maybe a little bit less. Would work just fine. It doesn't have to be an arena, so I don't think that you have to have certain things. Your lunge whip or your flag, you could actually do the same thing with just your lead rope. I've mentioned that before too. What you use isn't all that important. You do not have to have the facilities I have. I'm fortunate. I have these things at my disposal. I can use them. You don't have to have them, but it's still your responsibility to figure out how to use what you got and train your horse and prepare your horse so that when your farrier gets there, your horse is ready. They aren't going to risk their career and their life. Their life is not going to be difficult. Be respectful to your fellow human beings and just make their day a little bit better for them, okay? Have a good day.